Just a forewarning for anyone who's just clicked on this video, I do curse, so if you don't like that, then you are more than welcome to click out of the video. Alright, hey kids, this is Janelle recording my first ever YouTube video, which means it's probably ratchet, so just bear with me. You guys probably already know from the title of this video what I'm going to talk about. Asexuality refers to a lack of sexual attraction to either sex or a gender identity. So I'm not looking for men, I ain't looking for women, I ain't looking for any sort of identity you have. Is just not up my alley. I don't care, never cared. I am also aromantic. When a lot of people say asexuality, often they refer to being asexual and aromantic. But there are people who aren't sexually attracted to any sex, but would still pursue a romantic relationship or a romantic connection with somebody. So I want to go ahead and specify that I want neither. And I was debating on how I would, coordinate this video. Didn't know whether I wanted to do a Q&A sort of video or whether I wanted to do a kind of sit down chat story time kind of thing. So I decided to do both. This is going to be my sit down kind of just talk in general about my sexuality and about the way that I grew up. And my Q&A will handle like the finer questions or details that people wanted to know. To get into my history as an ace girl or asexual girl, I'll just go ahead and start with the fact that most kids growing up aren't really expected to have some sort of sexual desire and inclination. And as you progress throughout your growth as a child, you're just expected to be heterosexual. Everybody is expected to be with the opposite sex. It's kind of the standard. So I just figured I was a late ass bloomer, y'all. When I was a kid, even the prospect of, oh, princess is gonna meet her Prince Charming, or oh, you're gonna have a crush on that kid in your second grade class. Like, none of those things I cared about. If anything, I thought it was pretty stupid. I would always be, even in my young mind, I would be frustrated at the fact that there always has to be some sort of romantic or love interest involved. Not that I'm like a hater on romance and love, because abstractly it's a beautiful concept. But for me, that was the first glimmer of my asexuality. I didn't get the entire appeal of wanting to stare into another person's eyes or get carried off into the sunset, or they'll bring you flowers and you get married and you'll live happily ever after forever. And I would be watching TV like as a little girl, like, that's some corny shit. I think it's bullshit. And it's because in my head, like, I just didn't get it. And it's just attributed to a child. You don't have those mature thoughts and feelings as a child. So they're gonna give you time to develop those feelings. Cue puberty, y'all. Puberty to me was a fucking breeze. Puberty for me was basically just physical changes. I didn't have to deal with a lot of the emotional or sexual developments that my peers were going through. We all went through emotional and sexual developments. I'm just talking about my emotional and sexual feelings towards other human beings. I never wanted to interact with another human being, like on an intimate level, on a sexual level, on an emotional level, romantic level. All of my friends lost their fucking minds. Like, in middle school, it just becomes this sensation. People started having sex and figuring out sex a lot sooner than other kids from different socioeconomic groups would. So it was early. I'm saying as early as 6th or 7th grade that kids began to date, kids began to talk about sexuality, homophobia going on as well. And this is when the kids began to progress towards sexual and emotional relationship with one another. Me, I was always praised by adults for being that kid that stayed in a child's place and, you know, just still played with my toys, still watched cartoons, still, you know, didn't have any interest in doing the rest of those things. Cue high school. High school, as everybody knows, is just a cesspool of just fuckery. Just a cesspool of people discovering, you know, what their sexual orientation is, people experimenting on what their sexual orientation is, having sex, all that sort of thing. Lot of fuckery going on. And, you know, for me, I considered it an advantage to not have that, I guess, distraction of, oh my god, do I like him? Oh, does he like me? Oh, but I don't know if he likes me back. Like, that sort of thing would drive me crazy when I would hear my friends talk to me about it. Like, my friends would always come to me for relationship advice for some reason. I was the one to talk to. The word or the rumor or the belief didn't get out that I was ace amongst my friends until we continued to have these conversations. I would be talking to my friend about somebody they're interested in, and they would go on and on and on. And I'd be ready to talk about something else, but since I love my friends and I want to be interested in what they're interested in, I was just there to support them. Of course, because I'm a good friend, y'all. Like, duh. But anyway, these things. And then all of a sudden, you know, I would get the question like, oh, who do you like? Oh, what about your ex? And I tell them, I don't like anybody and I don't have an ex. I was never one to fake about what the hell I was feeling. I was never one to be pushed into doing things I didn't want to do. And to this day, I am eternally grateful for that. There have been times where, like, I let a guy or two take me on dates, and it was mostly because they brought up good points. Like, they were saying, oh, well, how do you know you don't like me if you refuse to date? And I'm like, okay, point proven, point made. So let's go on this quick date. We went on a couple of dates. Ain't shit happen. So my friends realized, one, Janelle does not have a crush on anybody. As many people that, you know, have a crush on Janelle, she does not ever reciprocate. Two, Janelle has never been in a relationship. Janelle does not have an ex. Janelle has nobody she's ever been with in the past. So it's not the individual person. It's just Janelle personally. So my friends were calling me asexual before I identified as asexual. I was known as the girl with no sexuality. This was just a joke between my friends and me. I definitely did experience a lot of pain or like growing pains when it comes to accepting my sexuality though, because I did feel like I was different. I felt a little alienated because I couldn't really connect to my friends the way that I wanted to. Clearly my friends were passionate about their relationships. They were passionate about their boyfriends or girlfriends, and I was often their shoulder to cry on when anything went wrong or their feelings weren't necessarily reciprocated. I didn't know what the fuck to say to them. Like, I just wanted to tell them, oh yeah, fuck them, like, let's move on with our life. But apparently heartbreak is something that's like similar to grief or something, so they are just, you know, distraught, and there wasn't much I can actually do about it. So there's even been a time where I called my sister crying because I thought that there was something really wrong with me. I didn't know, like, I thought I was like sick or some shit. Like, I needed to do something about the fact that I never wanted to be with anybody, because I was just imagining waking up one day and I'm 32 and all of a sudden it just hits me how lonely I am. So I call her and I'm like, Jazz, is something wrong with me? Like, I don't have a crush on anybody. I don't like anybody, and I'm already 16. And, you know, my big sister Jasmine, who I love with all my heart so much, she comforted me and she said everything was going to be okay. And so ever since then, like, I've just been living my life. It wasn't until, y'all, I'm not even joking about this, it wasn't until I was 18, 19 that I stumbled across a listing on Tumblr about asexuality, and I was like, wait, like, I never thought to see if there's other people out there in the world who feel the same as I do. And the first time I read an article on asexuality, it kind of scared me because all of these things describe me. it's like every single person who's ever questioned their sexuality are almost praying that they're straight. And so when I'm reading all these things that apply to me and that other people have said that they felt, and these people are like 38, 45, so it's not like it's a phase or anything, you kind of freak out and you're like, oh my god, I'm not straight. Oh my god, like, don't I have to be straight? Shouldn't I be straight? Don't I want to be straight? And then, like, the more you think about it, you're thinking to yourself, like, well, sexual preference or sexual orientation is all about your interest. Why should I force myself to date the opposite sex or to date at all just because I feel like that's normal, you know? Like, that's something that I should do if it's rooted in your individual inclination or preference. It's just going against the whole basis of what a relationship is supposed to be. So after I was done freaking out, I went back to like the little articles or whatever, and I was like, okay, so I'm ace, and it described me to a T. Like, there are some asexual people who just have no libido, no sex drive. There are some asexual people who are still, you know, having sex because they do that for their partner because they're not aromantic, they're just asexual. But there are also many asexual aromantic people. You don't have to be a virgin to know that you're ace, and you don't have to continue to not have sex to be ace. It's just literally, if I look at Brad Pitt and his ass is walking down the street, I don't want Brad Pitt's number. If Brad Pitt asks me for my number, I'm going to say, oh no, thank you. If I'm not attracted, doesn't mean that I can't enjoy sex. I'm just not sexually inclined to be with anyone, so I don't see the necessity of having sex with anyone. A lot of people tell me, oh, you just haven't met the right person yet. My response to that is just sheer annoyance. You can't treat a person's sexuality as though you would treat an everyday sort of dislike or preference. If I said I don't like broccoli, you'll ask me if I've tried it, and my answer will either be yes or no. So if I haven't tried broccoli, my entire dislike of broccoli is just completely dismissed. But the entire purpose of sexual attraction orientation is rooted in the fucking desire in the first place. So if I'm not desiring to be with someone of my same sex or opposite sex or anyone like that, then it's the bottom line. You know, enough about that. And I'm going to edge into a territory in this video because this video has been pretty lighthearted so far. Asexual people do experience some I'm going to say issues, because discrimination, we do experience that as well, though for the most part we're just invisible. Like, no one ever thinks that someone's asexual. They're either waiting for the right person or they're just confused or mistaken. But to come out as asexual or to just explain that you're not attracted to either sex, I'm often met with ridicule. It's one thing to, you know, kind of not really get asexuality and to be genuinely curious about it. But what pisses me off the most about going over my sexuality is people who ask questions because they're like, oh, you know, like, what the hell is that? What do you mean you're ace? Oh, I'm asexual, this means this, or I don't want to pursue a relationship, this is this. And they laugh, or they just, haha, oh, you're lying. There's plenty to say on the topic of asexuality that I will probably save for my Q&A. If you have any questions you wanted to ask me that weren't really covered within the video, such as more detail about how I plan to have children, how I feel about our place in the LGBTQ plus community, how I would go more into detail with my life, and all those sorts of things. So feel free to ask me in the comments down below. Inbox me on Facebook if you are my friend on Facebook, or inbox me on Instagram. I will put my Instagram, Snapchat, all that other stuff at the end of this video so you guys can follow me on there. I probably suck at any of these things, to be honest. This whole video is probably trash, but I digress. It was very nice to talk to you guys about this. This is very important to me. Be on the lookout for my part 2. And yeah, that's pretty much it.